that was silly, ridiculous, a waste of time. They didn't want. That's why they were so successful. That's why they got away.
Made a living in very dangerous.
This is really an integrated blue together.
Dianne Andrews in black and white.
Hello, this is Fuji Totes. I'm making a little video for you to see how the pillow works with the doggy in it. I have driven all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada, and taken Fuji and my other dog, my Multiple, with me with their meds, their leashes, their water cup, and whatever. And one pack, a couple of packs of food are in the bottom of this. Even with all that in the bottom, he can still lay here and feel nothing. You see him sitting down on it. He can still do that with all the things in there.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in black and white. Thank you for joining me today. We've been doing this over 9 years, and it still feels fresh every time I do it. I love to bring you all the news that needs to be told, and told in a true fashion. I've done shows from human trafficking. I just did that with Father Behe out at Metanoia about 2 weeks ago, and it is amazing. I'm sure at the Super Bowl, we had so many women and men being trafficked, because that is the #1 corridor in the country, is between Houston, Texas, and New Orleans, Louisiana. And the Super Bowl is the #1 event. So that had to be a kind of horrible place. People had a lot of great fun, and we want to give a shout out to Southern University's band. Everybody knows about Fuji Toast. Fuji's running around here today. I think he's got ADHD today. And you know, he gets in here and we carry him around. But now we have it for humans too. You'll see a picture. In fact, Dr. Mays' grandbaby is on one of the pillows. And I just took pillows and donated to Emerge Autistic Center out last week with Ashley McDermott out there. Hey, Ashley. So, but we have them in every color. We've got Kansas City back there. Sorry, Kansas City fans. And we also have the Eagles. We have green. We have 27 colors in Fuji's totes. But I wanted to give a shout out. The Human Jukebox showed up and they showed out. They did a wonderful job. And another thing Southern University has this month, they were named the #1 nursing program in the country by nurses.com. No, it's nurses.org. And I want to say hello to my friend Leah Collins. How you doing, Leah, out there? So, but let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. I was involved somewhat. I did some shows with Darryl Glasper, and we basically did them on our present mayor, Mayor Sid Edwards. And I also did some other things where we talked about him and talked about the kinds of things as he said he was going to do, and he's already started. People may not know this, but he has a second satellite office right now in North Baton Rouge, already keeping the promises. And he has a transition team. I am a member of it, and we're it's quite a few people, 30, 40 people, I guess, where we're trying to see what things we can make better. And I used to do process reengineering for IBM, and that's the main thing you want to do. Get people together, find out what's wrong, and then go try to fix it. You have to involve the users in anything that you're doing. So I'm going to interview his campaign manager, who helped him get here, and let's see what strategies he used. He is also now his executive director, and he's a founder of MRB Consulting. He's a political strategist. He worked in the legislature as a staffer. So come on back and let's see what's going on with our new mayor. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in black and white. Donald Trump, he was only really had the ability to change the outcomes for minorities and everybody. Lowest unemployment ever under those 3.5 years, 3.5% for the nation, the lowest in 50 years. And for blacks, Latinos, women, lowest unemployment ever under Donald Trump the first 3.5 years, correct?
Right. You know, you bring up a good point. I tweeted something out the other day that under President Trump, he used to say promises made, promises kept.
When we lost 20% of the utilities, energy, how did you supply? How did you make sure we didn't lose more? More of the cattle, more of the eggs, more of the everything.
We have custom-made units, and they are mobile pet evacuation trailers that we got from the federal government. Gave us these trailers that came out of the food service.
We're letting 2 million people have come over here in a year across the border illegally. I don't
We have a huge
understand. I don't
problem
think
at the
more
border.
people know. I don't think most people know how many are really
Right.
coming, because the mainstream media, of course, CNN is getting their just due right now, right? With everybody's having to leave because of sexual problems or this problem or another problem.
We have a couple of lawsuits pending about this administration's immigration policy. If they are legally here or illegally here, but even if they are legally here, if they commit a crime and they're convicted of a crime of violence, then they are immediately deportable.
The UN just said, United Nations, worst border in the history of the world is our border. The American, well, it's borderless.
Yes.
We have no border. Who does that?
We have Republicans who are willing to bend. We watch 12 million people, more probably, that I've come across.
That's right.
They're not making that argument. They're attacking Donald Trump.
What do you think would have happened if they had had an active doctor instead of just Dr. Fauci on Operation Warp Speed? Someone who really knew what was going on out there in the field.
When former President Trump contracted COVID-19, now remember, Trump was bold. President Trump received sequential multi-drug therapy, which is now the cornerstone of our protocols that we use, and the doctor featured in that was Dr. Conley.
We're going to hear why this man with a wife and 2 children who he had to leave behind because they threatened to kill him. He's going to tell us the true life of living in Cuba.
El momento que a mí me amenazan de muerte fue a razón de mis opiniones en contra de una falsa reforma a la Constitución de Cuba.
When he was put in jail, it was because he was against his beliefs.
I didn't know what fracking really was until I was doing some of the shows with Eric Lane and Matt Coday.
I'm against the whole war against oil and gas.
Right.
I think that the market, when we move to something better than oil and gas,
right,
then we'll spend that
and it's
money
sure
for
not the
whatever
EV.
that is.
I hate what's going on with the veterans. Every
But
time
we
I
can't
see a
even keep
veteran.
our own veterans
That's right. It's terrible.
off the streets.
Trump
So why
did-
should we go keep someone's criminals off the streets?
But you know, Trump did the Veterans Act when he was
That's
in.
right.
He fired 7,000 veteran employees who were. I did some shows with Shreveport.
Yeah, Shreveport.
Hospital's up there, a social worker.
Yeah.
With the veteran hospital up there. He came down here. He was a scheduler, but he was also a veteran. And he was saying they were backing the schedules up, making sure these people couldn't get. They delayed scheduling. And I went to the Whistleblowers Conference, which I go a lot, and we film there at the Whistleblowers in D.C. And they spoke on that. And that Trump did something called the Veterans Affairs Act, that if you need to go to the hospital and the VA is crowded, you can go to the lake.
That's right.
And we pay the lake.
That's right.
He also did something right to try.
Mhm.
I interviewed Donna Brett at home before she
Yeah.
died, and at the station before she passed down there. I don't know if she did do it, but when she had ALS, she was talking about there were some experimental drugs.
Mhm.
I mean, when you're dying, you will try
You will try
anything.
anything.
And what's wrong with right to try? But all these things we're talking about, this Biden-Harris got rid of.
That's right.
They haven't, but they're all coming back.
Yeah.
Trump, just like Sid Edwards said, he's ordained by God. I really believe that. And I believe Trump is too, and I think Trump knows that now. He always had the policies right, but his demeanor wasn't right. Now, I won't say right, but it was different than it is today. He talks about ending Ukraine, about the deaths there, the cartilage, the Russian people dying, everybody dying, too many people dying.
That's
but they
right.
say he was always a very, very nice man and a real humanitarian. But sometime, I guess, coming from that rough and tough construction world. But now he seems very much laid back, nothing, sliding off his back.
Yeah,
now.
and I think he's got a much better staff now.
Yeah.
You know, I think the staff in 2000, when he came in 2017, was good.
Yeah.
A lot of good people, but they didn't work very well together. You had the Steve Bannons of the world running around doing certain things, and then you had the Reince Prievises of the world.
Right.
So you had that kind of friction between those two
groups. And you had some people that didn't like Trump.
That's right.
What was that guy from Texaco, the president of Texaco?
Rex Tillerson.
Yeah, I don't think he cared for Trump.
Yeah, no, he didn't make it too long either.
And then you have all these staffers. People don't realize you can't get rid of most of them.
That's right.
They're still there who still had the Obama kind of influence with them. So he just had and he didn't know, he'd never done it before. But he knows this. God had it where he missed 4 years.
Yeah,
and now he's ready.
Now knows, and his chief of staff, I think, is really important to this piece. Susie Wiles.
I love her.
She was great on the campaign. First woman. She was great on the campaign.
Right.
A lot of people don't, accuse Trump of being a sexist,
but
they don't understand that he's put women
in the construction business.
In the construction business, who heard of putting a woman built the first all glass tower in New York, which was Trump Tower, revolutionized the city, was built by Donald Trump, but the woman who built it was a woman, and he put her in the right seat on the bus.
Something you mentioned about the third Civil Rights Act with Kennedy, a lot of people don't know, but a lot of people don't know this. The first Civil Rights Act of 1964, right, under Lyndon Johnson, they couldn't get the votes. The Democrats couldn't get it. They were filibustered. 25 Democrats, Southern Democrats filibustered.
Yeah, over 75% of Democrats voted against this.
They did. And how they got it were the Republicans. It was 40-60.
That's right.
60 by the Democrats.
That's right.
40 Republicans. Everyone signed it. And the minority whip was, they said he was one of the best orators, better than Obama.
Wow.
And he got which they wanted to sign anyway, because people always say, well, the Republicans changed. No, you don't know your history. 11 days, still the longest filibuster in the history of this country, was the 25 Southern Dixiecrats, they called them, against the Civil Rights. Yes, Robert Byrd, who Joe Biden's
best friend.
Both of them. Yeah. He was their their, excuse me, y'all, I have tonsils swollen. What do you call them? The palm bearer.
Yeah.
At their funeral, one of them, So people don't even know that.
That's right.
That first one. And what happened also is one other thing, I'm writing a book on this one, my sixth, about St. Augustine. They had something called the wait-ins. Have you ever heard of that? Well, we couldn't go on the beaches. I've already done a show in Biloxi on it. And they would pull black people off, mostly us, because there wasn't a lot of other minorities here then. And we couldn't swim in the beaches. Even after 1964, we couldn't.
Wow.
That didn't pass till... It was in that bill that Kennedy did in the 70s when we could go to the beaches and swim, which was really crazy. But St. Augustine, we couldn't go in the public hotel beach pools either. They called it the swim-ins and the wade-ins.
Wow.
You know about the sit-ins, but it was 3 elements of that. Martin Luther King went down to St. Augustine. This was his last stand. And he said it was the hardest thing he ever had to do. A month before he got the Civil Rights Bill signed. They jumped, black people and Jewish people jumped into the pool at this Munson Hotel. The manager jumped in his uniform with a gun, and then they poured lye on them in there. Do you remember that?
Yes. So sad.
He got on the phone to Johnson, and he said, what happened? And Johnson, in his talk, we can't have Negroes getting lye thrown on them in pools in public space. That's when he got it signed the next month. And he said that was his most difficult. He did a swim-in, a sit-in, and a wade-in in St. Augustine, Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a little known part of history.
Yeah. I remember them pouring the acid in the pool.
The picture is so...
Yeah, that very iconic.
The picture, yes, is something to see. It stays in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true act of real hate.
That's right. Or just stupidity.
That's right. And we can't have that history forgotten.
Right, never.
We have to remind people that these things did happen in our country. And I think, there's a point where they try to take it to a different level, with things like CRT and DEI.
Which help women. People don't know they help white women more than they help blacks.
That's right.
It was really for white women.
Yeah.
They're mad because it got taken away, but it wasn't helping blacks that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and of course, and actually I feel bad, because now a lot of African Americans, they will be looked twice at, I think, in some of these roles. And there are people who will think, well, maybe they shouldn't have gotten that
That's
job.
right.
And that's not right.
Right,
That's
it's
not right. Because
like
they
Kamala
would have.
Harris. What did Biden say? I'm going to hire a black woman. So I'm going to hire, even I say the best woman.
That's
but just say I'm going to hire the best.
Right.
But when you say that, she comes in at a deficit anyway, which she lived up to her. I'm going to hire a black woman.
That's right.
Now, I don't think Ketanji Brown, I think she's pretty sharp.
I think she is too.
Yeah, she's sharp.
She's sharp.
Yeah, she's a sharp lady.
She passed with, we may not agree on ideology.
Right. But
that's,
she's a sharp
that's
girl.
not what you assess when you're
Right.
it's like when you shouldn't assess assessing a Supreme Court justice. I think if they can interpret the law in a cohesive way and be able to comprehend it at a very high level.
Yes, she seems very bright.
She's very bright.
But Kamala Harris is just a walking backwards dictionary.
What's she doing these days?
Didn't she announcing, I read somewhere, the 911 is supposed to be on her that she's always intoxicated. I don't know if you've heard that
I hadn't heard that.
And they did a skit on it on Saturday Night Live. Rudolph played her. And she had a big wine glass, drinking it, and said when she got mad, she crushed, it was a fake gas, but then the red stuff, the wine.
Maya Rudolph does a very good version of Kamala Harris.
She does a real, and Kamala came over there, and it was like they were looking in the mirror.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they had
Trump
wine.
and I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, or Jimmy Fallon maybe, one of the two, Fallon or Kimmel. In 2016, I think, did a very similar skit, looking through the mirror.
Yeah. But, because Trump doesn't drink or smoke, I don't think.
He does not.
Yeah, he doesn't drink or smoke. I think one of his brother died.
His brother, older brother.
So let's talk a little bit about, where does Mason want to go now?
Yeah.
You've done a lot of things young. You're still doing things.
That's right.
And your day-to-day is what? I know it's policy and legislature, dealing with the council and the legislature. What do you do?
I think major day-to-days, I cannot handle a lot of the policy coming out of the mayor's office. I walk about 4.5 miles every morning, the LSU Lakes every morning.
Oh, you live over that way?
Mornings like this, it's a lot harder when it's very cold.
Yeah.
Down here in the south, we're not used to that.
We get cold up north, though. Colder than here.
Yeah, colder than here. So I usually get to the office about 7:30 in the morning. We have lots of meetings.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And the mayor's, he was never been in politics before, so he doesn't really understand why all these people want to have these are trying to meet.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of people that want to meet because of the mayor. But as I explained to him, a lot of times these meetings are happening during the campaign because this person wants to meet with you, because they know you're either you have a good chance of winning, or you're going to win. A lot of times, so you get these knocked out during the campaign. But a lot of people never gave us a chance.
Right.
And so they didn't have these meetings. And so now I think that's really, we are playing catch up with lots of people trying to come in.
That's got to be overwhelming for him.
It
Knowing
is.
his career
That's right.
for 40, however long, 35, 40 years before. And
he's managed it well.
Yeah.
But like I said, my main role is handling most of the policy.
Now, who's his gatekeeper up there?
Some would say it's me,
Yeah,
but I won't. I won't take that credit.
Okay.
I've been with him the longest.
Yeah.
I was the only campaign staffer to stay on in the administration. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you were the campaign manager,
That's right.
so you managed his entire campaign. How did you luck up or skilled enough to get that position?
Yeah. So I gave a talk into the Republican women of East Baton Rouge Parish in November of 2023.
Yeah, I belonged to them before. Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to work on the mayor's race in Shreveport as well. Tom Arsenault, Mayor Tom Arsenault in Shreveport.
Is he a Republican up there now?
He is.
Oh,
yeah, in
good.
2022 he was elected. We won by 11 points. Beat longtime Senator Greg Tarver.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know
before.
Greg. Yeah. In a really great race.
Was he a mayor there?
He was running for mayor. He was a senator for 30 years. He was in the House of Representatives, long-time political figure. And Tom had been on the Shreveport Council in the 80s, and so this was kind of his return.
Yeah.
And he was a lot like Sid in a lot of ways, but different. Tom was an attorney.
Yeah.
But like Sid, had been in the community, especially the African American community, a lot of his life. Not necessarily through sports, but through philanthropic organizations. They would, house people at their personal home. Him and his wife Elizabeth, great people. So I gave a talk to the Republican women in November about kind of how that happened in that race, and kind of how that was possibly
November of 23 or 24?
November of 23.
Okay.
And how we could possibly replicate that here in Baton Rouge.
It was over then.
Yeah, that's right. So that started the process of us then looking for a candidate. Me and several others kind of were looking, and we didn't find any really.
Right.
And so after probably our one candidate that was going to run fell through in April of 24, I just kind of I let it go and just said, well, this is not going to happen. I'll go try and find something else to do.
So you went looking for the candidate.
That's right.
Not the candidate came looking for you.
Well, it came that way, but so nothing happened for several months, and then the last day of qualifying in late July, I hear this football coach has qualified, and I start getting several calls from people who knew him, that they knew me, and they was like, oh, you know, and I was like, well, he got in late and all this stuff. But I went to a lunch where he spoke. I think it was probably the first time he spoke as a candidate for mayor. And he told this story about, which I'm sure you know, about the football player that died on New Year's Day, 2024. And that struck me. So I know many people with the same stories. You know, I think growing up in a place like Shreveport or Baton Rouge, I think you're going to know people like that.
Right.
But it was the way he told it.
Yeah.
And the heart that he had for that player. And he teared up, and that caused me to tear up. And from that moment on, I was a believer. And I walked over to him and I said, I think you need some help.
Yeah.
And I think I can help you. And so that's how it started, and it was like a rocket ship from there.
Yeah.
We had a vision, but we had a candidate who was willing to stay the course. And when everything was thrown at him, he didn't back down, and now he's the mayor.
It's a wonderful story.
It is.
And I like how he says it's from God. He is ordained. He truly believes that.
That's
what
right.
I've read and heard him say. And he seems, and as I said, I talked to Beanie a long time. What a nice woman. She raised, out of the 4 children, the younger 2 are autistic.
That's right.
And at the inauguration, you know, and they're severe autistic.
Yeah.
It seems that they really are. So they are just wonderful people.
That's right.
I think we have I think in this country now, we have a trifecta. In Louisiana,
We do, yeah.
And in Baton Rouge, we do. And a lot of people.
Of course, we have the Speaker of the House as well.
That's right.
Yeah. And the Majority Leader. I mean, Louisiana is really a happening place these days.
They were talking, article, Forbes magazine just wrote an article on Baton Rouge.
Wow.
And about the Amazon Center is really the hub of causing more businesses to want to come into.
That's right.
And we're I didn't know this, the most northern port city.
That's true.
I didn't know that, and how the port is
So
growing.
after when you're going upriver, when you go to the old Huey P. Long Bridge, that's the last seagoing port to your left and to your right.
Really? I didn't know until I read this the other night.
So under that bridge is where it ends, and it's now too shallow for seagoing vessels. So we really, and I actually met with a company in December who makes batteries, but not with lithium. You know, we're very reliant on China.
Yes, with the rare earth minerals that they've gotten all over the world.
This company extracts a mineral from Australia that can also be used for batteries. It's actually probably a little bit better than lithium.
Okay, what is it? Do you know?
It's with the 25th element on the periodic table, but I can't remember that.
I can't
manganese.
Manganese, yeah.
So they extract it from Australia, and it comes in this powder when it's shipped. It'd be 2 shipments a year, and they're going to try to build a facility at the port of Baton Rouge and on the Baton Rouge side.
Yeah.
That will then and they'll then put it on barges, ship it upriver to Stellantis in Detroit, which owns Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram.
Well,
for their electric vehicles.
They're still making them up there, thanks to Donald Trump, because as you know, China was about to build, excuse my voice again, but I have tonsillitis and this side's all swollen. But they were about to build the largest SUV electrical facility in the world in Mexico.
Yeah.
If we hadn't had Donald Trump.
Not in China.
China
was going to build it in Mexico.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're building it there.
Right.
If Donald Trump hadn't come in, he was talking about the bloodbath of the what was going to happen in Detroit. It was over.
Yeah.
First, Clinton tried to get rid of it with NAFTA when Canada and Mexico got 5 million of our manufacturing jobs. People didn't know that most of our cars were made there.
That's right.
Until Trump came in the first time, and what is it called? United States something.
Yeah, USMCA. Yeah. Which actually I think he's upset with now too.
Yeah, it's not that great.
I think he's going to probably do some changes to the. Yeah, now it's much better than NAFTA.
Yeah, the NAFTA.
But I think it needs some more tweaking.
That's when our textile industry ended too.
That's right.
Back with Clinton. That's when it all went to China. My girlfriend had a master's in textile engineering, and she said overnight it was gone.
Yeah.
Over in North Carolina.
At one point in America, we had this philosophy. It was just right after the Cold War, Well, I think a lot of diplomats and a lot of politicians thought through free trade and globalism we could lower prices but also project power through the economy. But we found out that that wasn't true.
No.
What we would do is we would end up harming ourselves, maybe irreparably. We would erode the middle class of the United States, and we would cause us to be ultra reliant on China, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, even for oil and gas.
When we have more oil in this country than any place, and natural gas than any place in the world. I do a series on oil and gas with Eric Lane and Matt Coday.
You know, we have one of the largest deposits of natural gas right here in this state.
That's right.
You know, the shale.
It is the largest.
It is,
yeah.
And that'll be for hundreds of years. You could drill. You'll never be able to get all those resources out of the ground.
He's got earache too. I don't know if he got bad tonsils like me, but he doesn't feel well either today. So it's just an amazing time, I think, to be an American.
That's right.
And I hope people who have judged Trump unfairly, who don't think they've judged him unfairly, could just look at some of the things he's doing for the country. He doesn't need this. You know, I heard someone told me, a very good friend of mine the other day said they thought that Butler was a fake. I said, how did he do that? And you think the other guy was just collateral damage that young guy killed? And he said, yeah, that's why they killed the guy who was the shooter. And this is an educated, knowledgeable man, and a lot of black men are for Trump. I think about 40% of black men like Trump and voted for Trump. Now, black women is a whole different category. That's only still about 7 or 8%. How much black women support did Sid get?
I don't know. I think we got about 12% of the black vote overall.
Just 12 overall. Yeah,
12
Trump I think got a little.
So
more.
I think, of course, here in Baton Rouge, Kamala Harris won 56% of the vote.
That's amazing. Isn't it?
You know, it really is.
The AKA element. I know she flew down to Houston. Her best friend is a lawyer in Houston, and she's an AKA sister. Yeah, a lot of AKAs were mad with me because I just don't vote for your color or your sex. When I started my career at IBM at 19, I took a test. I've never used anything like DEI. I don't know, and I don't want to. Don't give me anything.
That's right.
Let me earn it, and I can do that. I'll earn it.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite movies is it reminds me a lot of you. Is Hidden Figures.
Oh yeah.
Katherine Johnson.
The ladies at NASA.
Yeah.
She just died a couple of years ago. And I started at Johnson Space Center.
Right. Yeah.
Down at NASA. IBM used to do all the coding for the space program.
Yeah.
They had Federal Systems Division.
And you know, they weren't treated fairly.
Oh, not at all.
But they proved that, you know.
You had to work twice as hard. I have had to do that in my career too.
Which isn't right.
No.
But then there's no questioning about whether you should be there or not.
Right. But the problem in being black, when we walk in the room, you see we're black.
Right.
Right. And that people who have these thoughts, when a lot of people do, that you're dumb or you're this or you're that, which I'm giving you a fair shake. That's the problem. And black people can never hardly overcome that. But it's never bothered me because I know they're stupid.
Yeah.
And see, my father's white. His hair about the color of yours. And,
well, I'd just like to thank you for having me on your show. And I'd like to thank the audience for being engaged and supporting you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We all just need to try. I'll try to leave a path of goodness for others to follow. Thanks, Mason.
Thank you.
Great to we just met. We just liked each other, and both were trying to get things done, like everybody, trying to get things done to help this be a better place.
That's right.
Talk to you later, Mason. I'll be seeing you.